off to the races. Off to the races. There we go. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Marketing Pains. My name is Will Hankey. This is the podcast where we talk with real window treatment and awning business owners about their successes and struggles related to marketing their business. Today, we've got a great business owner who has been very successful in the Philadelphia area. Excited to have her on. Her name is Vitalia Vygovska. She is an award-winning author, speaker, business coach, and window treatment specialist. Her company, Vitalia Inc. Window Treatments, is a comprehensive fabrication, measurements, installation, and project management service. It's a one-stop shop, expert go-to resource for design firms looking for support with window treatments, upholstery, and related products. In business since 2006, Vita and her team are proud to be experts in their narrow field, providing their clients with superb quality product and excellent communication, all wrapped up in tech-driven, detailed, and meticulous style. I like the tech-driven piece, of course. Located in the greater Philadelphia area, Vitalia can handle any project nationwide or around the globe. Vita, thank you so much for being on and listening to me trudge through that.
No worries. You know, Vita is a hard name to kind of grasp and pronounce sometimes. It means life, and that's what my dad apparently he named me. He wanted me to just have a wonderful life, and that's why he named me Vita.
Yeah, great. Well, I've already called you Vita, so I've already messed it up.
No worries. All good. I've been called worse.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you so much for being on. Tell us a little bit about your business outside of what I just introduced.
Thank you so much for having me on, Will. It's an honor to be here and a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah. So
Vitalia Inc. is the company that I started 18 years ago, which seems like, on one hand, it feels like it's 100 years ago. On the other hand, it feels like it was a blink away. And so at this point, we are a one-stop shop, a go-to resource, a white glove service, a concierge level service exclusively for luxury interior designers ready to fly first class in the world of window treatments. They come to us because we are super organized. We're a great communicator, so they know at every stage where the project is located, and we make them look like heroes at the end of the day. And so if that's how they feel at the end of the project and their clients are happy, then I know that we've done our job.
That's great. I love that you point out the communication piece of that, because I think consumers or someone purchasing from another company always feels great when there's lots of communication.
And especially I feel in the window treatment industry, because our lead times are so long. You know, it's, what is it, 6 to 8 weeks, 8 to 10, 10 to 12, you know, sometimes more, sometimes a little less. But regardless, you know, the customer writes out that deposit check, and then it kind of goes into ether, into like this black hole. And if I were a consumer, I would be wondering, well, what's happening with my order? Are you doing anything about it? Has the order been placed? Like, what's the status? And so a lot of times our emails to them or phone calls or text or communication is very, very simple. It doesn't have to be long, drawn out paragraph of everything that we've done, even though we could, because we all do that much in this industry. But sometimes it's just as simple as, you know, Mrs. Smith, just wanted to let you know that we placed your fabric. Talk to you soon. Mrs. Smith, just wanted to let you know that your fabric has been received and it looks beautiful. You will love your window treatment. Mrs. Smith, your fabric is on the fabrication table and it's looking gorgeous. I can't wait to start talking to you about installation. So it's those types of one-liners that we drop so that the customer always feels like they are in the know, that they're supported, that we really have their back.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, you can imagine somebody writing a check and then, you know, a friend asking them 2 weeks later, hey, you know, how is that going? And they said, I don't know. I wrote them a check. I haven't heard from them since.
Right, exactly. And of course, us servicing interior designers exclusively, the designers oftentimes have those touch points with the customer on their own part of the whole process. And we then step in to do that for the window treatments, be that us going directly to the customer, if that's what the designer wanted us to do. And of course, we copy them in the process. Or if it is updating the designer and then she decides or he decides what to do on their end directly to the customer.
Okay. That's fantastic. I love that they, some of them give you that freedom to do that.
Some love it. I mean, it's, some like to hold it very close to the vest, and that's totally cool. We're very much whichever way you'd like us to go. We just want to provide you with communication. And some of them really see the efficiency in not being kind of in between and the like sort of the in-between person, as long as they're copied on the emails, as long as they know exactly what we said to the customer. And over time, what happens is maybe in the first project, designer would not feel comfortable with us doing it, maybe on the second, maybe on the fifth. But then after a while, we get such good track record and they know that we're professionals. And ultimately, I think we build the kind of confidence in their mind and support that they know that it is, that designer knows that it is she or he that is our primary customer. It is our job to make them look amazing, and then we will never throw them under the bus. We will never be like, well, I don't know why she picked that fabric. What was she thinking doing that? They know over time that we would never do that. It's that kind of rapport and trust and relationship that we build over time. And so, great. 18 years later, we still work with a lot of the same designers that I started with, along with a lot of the new ones too that have come along. But our relationships run long and deep.
Yeah, always good relationships to have because they're a fantastic referral source.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So tell me about your business. How did it get started? Give me a brief history of that.
Yeah. So I am a corporate dropout. So that means that I spent first 10 years of my professional career in corporate America. I actually graduated with a marketing degree, and as I think you would appreciate, and I ultimately decided to quit my corporate job as at that point I was a marketing director for Lennox China. And I decided that I can do better on my own. That I wanted to control my destiny, that I could manage my time better, that I could be more productive with my gifts and talents. And I started looking for an opportunity. I never knew that it was going to be in the window treatment world. I just looked for any business, and I did a lot of research and even traveled and talked to a lot of people around the country looking for the right opportunity. Believe it or not, I explored opening a gym.
Okay.
I read an Entrepreneur magazine article about used cardboard box company. So there were a lot of little tangents that I tried going into, just looking for the right business where I wanted to do a business. Like, it was never a hobby. It was never, let's see how it works. I knew the type of income that I wanted to replace working for corporate. I knew the type of lifestyle that I wanted to build outside of corporate, and I just looked for the right fit. And so that's how this amazing industry came along. I never knew that it existed. I never knew that anybody back then would spend multiple thousands of dollars for a pair of drapes.
Right.
I think probably at that point I went to, I don't know, JCPenney or something to buy whatever ready-mades. So I've learned a lot since then. And ultimately, it's interesting how things happen. And, universe just kind of provides, looking back, I can't imagine doing cardboard boxes or even any kind of fitness, or I think I looked at plants and vitamins and some other things, which is all sorts of different things. This feeds the creativity. It feeds my wanting to build relationships with people. But at the end of the day, my old marketing professor, I remember in college, used to say, if you know marketing, then you can sell nails. You can market nails, essentially anything.
Yeah.
So it's all about knowing who your target client is, knowing, identifying where they hang out, and then going and meeting them where they hang out and finding ways to create those relationships where they already are, or bringing them to you and pulling them in to create those relationships.
I love it.
That's why I love it here.
That's great. I love that you took that initiative to just start looking through, a bunch of different options before picking something or landing on something. I think that would probably make a lot of people jealous, right? A lot of people just get into a job, and then that becomes their job for the rest of their life, whether it was something they liked or not.
Yeah, it's a shame that is the case.
Yeah.
I have two small children. I mean, they're not that small anymore. My son is 13. My daughter is turning 10 in just a couple of days. And I know you have a daughter who helps you in the business, right? And I always tell my children that it is up to them to create their own future. It is up to them to pick their destiny. It is up to them to make the right choices, and that every choice has a consequence. Be that something very small, like, I don't know, deciding not to go to a swim practice because he doesn't feel good, and then it becomes that much more difficult the next day at that swim practice.
Yeah.
Or whether it's something bigger, if they decide not to study for a test or whatever it may be, every single decision is a choice and it has consequences.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the mantra that we try to live by.
That's great. I love it. So a lot of the classes that I teach kind of focus on three different things for a successful marketing campaign. That's the market, the message, and the media. We've already talked a little bit about the media, some of the things you do, but I'll circle back around to that. But let's start with the market. So who is your ideal customer or target market right now?
Yep. So it is a luxury interior designer. She's primarily in the Philadelphia area. However, if there are any interior designers out there listening and they have a high-end luxury large project in Hawaii or Paris, I will definitely go. I will make myself available. But all jokes aside, we do take really good care of our designers, which means that we go on site and take measurements, and we are product knowledge people and give them the best advice and the engineering. We provide the estimate. We have the fabrication component right here in-house, right next door. And then we have an in-house installer. So, and then any kind of service calls, of course, we will take care. So everything is done right here in-house in a very comprehensive kind of way. It's a very white glove service. It's a very high touch service. So, a lot of it lands itself to more of a local clientele in the Philadelphia area. And it is for a designer who appreciates, and when I say appreciates, that means they really want that kind of service, and they have the clients who can afford that kind of service. That is rooted in technology, like you said earlier, that is based on all things organization. We have a very robust project management system that, I would venture a guess to say that only 1% of our entire industry has something like that, or even has any kind of system for project management. We have a wonderful and robust communication system with all the templates, and then all the processes and the steps that we have in handling our designers. It is definitely not for the faint of heart, not from the budget standpoint, not from the standpoint of, we will follow up with them and say, hey, where's the fabric that you wanted to order? Where's that thing that you promised me? So all of a sudden they're like, oh, Vitalia Inc. is holding me accountable. They have my back.
Right.
They know what they're doing. It's not that I have to chase them down. They're actually chasing me down. And so it becomes a whole elevated level of service and relationship. Usually it's the high achieving type of designers who have those type of caliber projects and clients. Those who we love to work with. And that is not to say that they're all big firms. Some of them are very big firms, but we work with a lot of firms that are a solopreneur, or maybe it's a solo designer and a couple of assistants, but it is just the level of service that they provide, the level of client that they work with, and in turn, that is the type of support system that they're looking for in all of their trades, including the window treatment trade.
Yeah, we've got some of our clients that, they're very happy with 5 leads a month because
Mhm.
they're doing these huge jobs, they're solopreneurs. And if
Yeah,
they could just get a couple of those a month, they're more than happy. So I love that you guys have that kind of that support system behind the scenes.
yeah,
And all
yeah.
the, especially all the processes in place. I love processes and having all that stuff in place because I understand how much it's going to move you down the line in success and happy clients too.
Yeah, yeah, I'm all about efficiency and productivity and getting things done with the least amount of input for the highest amount of output.
Right.
So it's the
Yeah,
highest amount of service, the happiest clients for, if we can get something done in an hour instead of 5 hours, then that's what we're going to strive to do.
that's great. So we talked about the market. That's great. We kind of started to talk about your messaging a little bit. So
Mhm.
what is your kind of unique selling proposition, or how do you position yourself in the eyes of your customers?
Oh, yes, the good old USP. I love it.
Right.
Uh, it is about the proper organization, the proper communication, and then ultimately building trust. So our value system is based on these 3 core principles. And I'll start from the end, and the end is trust. We want to build that kind of trust where the designer knows with, unequivocally and without any doubt that we will always have their back. We will always support them. We will never throw them under the bus. We will only talk to them about any kind of issues and problems outside of the client's home and one-on-one. Like, we would just never do anything that jeopardizes our relationship.
Yeah.
It is the kind of trust where once in a while the designer gets, so overwhelmed or busy with some other things, and we get a check for the deposit and the check is blank. And we're like, would you like us to fill it out? Do you want us to tear it up? Want to send a new one? That sort of thing. So it is the kind of trust where we can communicate directly with the customer, always, of course, including the designer, but they know that we're going to do it on a professional level. So trust is the ultimate end result. How do you build trust? You do that by communicating with your customers, by letting them know what the status of the project is along the way, by letting them know that there's a problem and not shying away and standing in firmly in what you believe, be that an unstable fabric or the wrong treatment style or some other problem that usually arises along the way. But
Yeah.
being honest and standing firm in your convictions and what you think is right, and ultimately they respect you better for that. So all of that communicating, we're trying to be very, very good at and very efficient at that. And the reason that we're able to be such good communicators is because we're very organized on the front end. So I did this backwards, but if I were to do it kind of in real time, we're so organized with our processes and systems, specifically with the digital quoting tools that we use and the project management system where we capture all of the details. And it is transparent. We actually give our designers a link. It's an evergreen link to their kind of cut of their project management report where they can see all of their projects and they can see exactly where we stand. So there's never like, well, did Vitalia Inc. order that hardware? Did that shape ship? Did they take care of such and such? And we don't hold anything back. We're not hiding it like, oh crap, I forgot to do something. Let me not tell the interior designer about it and just quickly do it and then just tell her that something was on back order.
It's delayed.
Everything, yeah, right, delayed, miraculous, So yeah, we're very, very kind of transparent in our initial organization that leads us to be very transparent communicators that ultimately leads to trust.
That's great.
That's our USP.
I love that. That's fantastic. I like how they all fit together as well.
Yeah, it's like a puzzle.
Right. Yeah. Very cool. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So market message out of the way. Now my favorite part, that's the sexy stuff, right? The media. How do you do it? At least as a marketing guy, I think this is the exciting part. So
oh yes. Yeah. Exactly. And I'm right there as a marketing gal. And I think that's really, really exciting too.
Cool.
So, I mean, as a marketing professional, I believe and I want all of us to play in all of the marketing fields. I mean, there's branding and there's that good old messaging, of course, and there's social media and there's SEO and there's ads and there's print ads and there's networking and shows and one-on-one things. There's all the things, right? So follow-up, newsletters. So, and, you know, truth be told, we actually, because we've been in business for such a long time, and because I am so driven by systems, I even teach a class in Luann University. It's called Systems Driven Operations, because everything I do is so rooted in systems, which of course are supported by technology. That I mean, I can, you know, fairly say that we have some kind of presence, we play in all of those areas of marketing. So it's exciting to be kind of in all things at the same time. It is very challenging for anyone who wants to do it alone. So I don't want our listeners here to get overwhelmed and to start thinking, oh my God, I have to do all of the things that Vita just rattled off, and I'm all but one person. And on top of that, I actually have to go on appointments and do the ordering and go on installations and all of that. You know, that's not what I did from the beginning, or in the beginning, I should say, because it was just me, the solopreneur, doing everything myself. It is in the last 4 to 5 years that I made a very conscious choice to scale the business and do so by building a team. And so I have a wonderful, very talented, skilled, very conscientious, great hard worker marketing coordinator who helps me with all of the above. And also me personally as a CEO, who has a team for a lot of those everyday type things, like the ordering, like the appointments, like the estimating and so forth. I now look at my job description and I know that a good 30% of it, maybe 40% of what I do needs to be in marketing.
Yeah. I love that you guys are kind of dabbling in a lot of things. We tend to call that omnipresence. I'll get a call now and somebody will say, you know, I just see you everywhere. And that makes me feel good, because I know that it has not always been the case, right? You know, it's taken years and years for us to add on, okay, let's start doing a newsletter. Okay, let's start doing podcasts, right? You know, you just kind of add them on. To think that you could start out doing all of these things would be insane, and you'd go crazy. So
yeah, absolutely. So I started off, how I started in this business by quitting a corporate job and finding a business where I thought I could succeed. But truth be told, I didn't know the industry. I didn't know anything about window treatments or that they even existed. But most importantly, I didn't have any contacts. I mean, I didn't have any interior designers, who were giving me projects. I didn't have any builders rolling out red carpets or anything like that. So a lot of what I did 18 years ago at that very beginning is pounding the pavement. I made a lot of phone calls. I went on a lot of networking events. I shook a lot of hands. I did a lot of coffee dates. I always say I was severely over-caffeinated in the first 3 years of my entrepreneurship career. I did home and garden shows when we still were targeting the end consumer. I was primarily just, me and leveraging my time and my skill and my strength and desire, I think, in wanting to be in front of people and wanting to build relationships with people. So that's what I concentrated on at the very beginning. And then as years went on, then I added the newsletter to follow up. I added the website component. I added the Google listing. I added in the recent 3-4 years or so the podcasting, and now teaching and giving back to the industry. And because I've built what I've been able to build, now it's time to give it back to the people who are where I was 18, 15 years ago.
Yeah, that's awesome. Out of all the different things that you do, is there any one specific marketing component that you think drives the most leads for you?
So, there's a part of me that wants to say it's referral, And everybody says that, oh, my business is referral based, or I only do business based on referral and all that. And there's great truth in that, and it's a wonderful thing. There's a little part of me that kind of feels like it's a lazy way into the like a lazy way marketing way kind of thing.
Right.
Because very few of us have actual put together and formal referral program. So we never know when those referrals will actually happen. They just kind of happen by happenstance. It's like, oh, you were referred to me by X, Y, and Z. I'm like, oh, well, great, terrific. I didn't know that I would be referred, but okay, great. So there wasn't like an intentional effort behind it.
Right.
And so, which, I welcome any lead, don't get me wrong, but I'm mostly in my marketing efforts concerned and concentrating on the things that I can actually control, on the things that I can do. It is about my time and where do I spend my time in terms of marketing. And so in terms of my window treatment business, believe it or not, it is reaching out to my clients, my target client market. It is physically picking up the phone and calling them. It is sending them an email. It is sending them a direct message on either LinkedIn or Instagram. It is recording a video on text or IG or LinkedIn and sending it that way. So it is still, just like 18 years ago, it is trying to put me eyeball to eyeball with my main target client, who's an interior designer, who's ultimately the referral partner. So that's how I personally, where I spend my time and what I dedicated to. We recently, Will, I don't know if we had a huge fire in our studio a couple of years ago.
Oh, wow.
And since then we rebuilt it and we just moved in. Well, I say just, right? It's like everything happens in the blink of an eye. It's been a few months now that we've moved in. And so now that we have this beautiful space, we're starting to hold lunch and learns. And those lunch and learns are sending out blanket invitation to our email list and having them raise their hand and come. But also it is sending out private invitations and personal, I should say, invitations, and inviting them to take a private tour of our fabrication workroom and studio, followed up by a lunch and learn component. So those actually have been quite successful too. So, and that again, it's an eyeball to eyeball thing, whether you do it with an individual person or a firm, whether you try to go to them, whether you pull them towards you. So that's where I spend a lot of my time. And then one other thing that I would like to mention is the email newsletter that we do. We do it twice a month. And that continues, without fail, continues to bring response. Whether it is something as simple as, it was great hearing from you, Vita, keep up the good work, whether it is someone congratulating us on moving into a new space, or giving their sentiments when the whole fire thing happened. So every time I send out a newsletter, I always get replies back, and that as that nurturing mechanism to existing clients, or at least maybe there are some clients and some prospects, but in one shape or form, they raised their hand and they said, I'm interested in what you have to say, whether they've bought from us in the past or not. They are an engaged person who had to sign up for the list, to be on the list. So without doubt, that marketing technique definitely works, and something that we try to stay on top of as much as possible.
I love that you mentioned that. A lot of people overlook the newsletter thing and just think, well, what am I going to tell everybody every month? And there's plenty to say. Especially if you're doing content. So all of our clients obviously are doing content, things like that. You could share those new articles, but there's definitely something to be said for just being top of mind, right? It may be 6 months from now before they're ready to buy, but just the fact that you're showing up every month or twice a month in your case in their inbox, even if they're not like totally engaged and paying attention to it, you're still top of mind to them.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Will. I think being top of mind is paramount to I mean, essentially it is what marketing is all about.
Yeah.
And so I can tell you that with going to the trade, I know that it takes me at least a year to develop a cold relationship. So if you were an interior designer and I had given you a call and said, hey, I would love to introduce my company to your firm, what works for you? Do you want to get together for coffee, lunch, dinner? Do you want to come to me? I can come to you. I can do a lunch and learn. We can, get together, whatever. And at first it'd be like, what?
Right.
Who's that calling me? And then what I'll do is, I will continue calling, or I'll email, or I will do the video or the message, the DM, and so forth. And so eventually, like, all right, who is Vita? What is she all about? Let me subscribe to her newsletter. Let me see what she does on social media and all that. And so it will take you about a year as an interior designer to be like, all right, she's legit. She knows what she's doing. She has a team. She's been in the business for a while. Her work seems great. Oh, by the way, I heard somebody else was talking to her at some event that I attended. Oh, and she's also part of this organization. And I saw her at that place. All right, now that I've seen her all around, what was the word that you used?
Yep.
Omnipresence, what did you say?
Yeah, omnipresence. Yeah.
Omnipresence, that's right.
Yeah.
So it takes at least a year for it to go from the cold call to actual them asking us to, hey, how do you work? And do you want to quote on the project, or come visit the site with us? We'd love to work with you.
These are some great insights, especially for like window treatment dealers who are wanting to start getting some referrals from interior designers. In our case, they'll say, hey, can we put a page on their website about that? And typically the interior designers won't see that page, or they're not out there looking for that kind of thing. But by you going kind of, circumventing, right? You're going a different route to get in front of them, and just building those touch points that, like you said, over time, they're going to be like, okay, what is this all about? I love that. That's great.
I'll tell you this story real quick, and that's sort of like on the other extreme altogether. But there's this one interior designer, very well-known interior designer in the Philadelphia area, and I started courting her
right
15 years ago. And I did all the things, I called and I DM'd and I PM'd and I emailed and I sent her gifts. And, all the things, I do direct mail, I do interesting, cute little things that I would send, maybe an article to something, a video to another thing. I've seen her at networking events. We've talked many times, one-on-one, just, hi, how are you? How's business? That sort of thing. So we definitely have known each other for a long time. And yet her business remained elusive. She has not called us once to quote on the project, to go visit a site. She had somebody else. And about 2 weeks ago, actually, I get a call from one of her design associates. And she starts asking me all the right questions. How long does this take? What is your process for that? What do you do if it's new construction? What if it's one little room? What if it's a whole room of a whole house of things? And, I answered the questions. And then I said, please tell me, I know that you've used another workroom, and, what have been your pain points, and what is the reason that you're reaching out to me now? And like I said, I'm all about communication, even if it's something like that straightforward, because I want to know why now, why, I know why me, because I stand very confidently and strongly in what we have to offer, but I want to know why now. And so she gave me some answers as to why they were looking into somebody else. And one of the things she said was, well, the existing workroom had stopped making us a priority. And she said, it won't happen with you, right, Vita? And I said, well, first name of the person, you probably don't know this, but I have been courting your boss for the last 15 years. So trust you me, 15 years, you will be a priority for us.
Yep.
And sure enough, in the last couple of weeks, we've gotten several requests and projects from her. So I'm really looking forward to that great relationship. And so, not to scare anyone off and be like, holy moly, this takes 15 years. This is an extreme case, but the point of it is persistence, resilience, tenacity. I mean, those are the cornerstone qualities of any entrepreneur, and especially a good marketer.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. You also mentioned a couple other things. I was taking notes. Video. You do a lot with video, and it's interesting because YouTube Shorts have become super, super popular. You know, YouTube has really paid a lot of attention on this short content, these little micro bursts of information. So how are you guys using video? Not just on the courting side for new clients, but all around?
Yep. So 2.5 years ago, it was during COVID when all of us were shaking out our boots and bringing down our forecast down to, I don't know, 20-30% of budget. And we didn't know exactly how it was all going to turn out. WindowWorks, of course, you just interviewed Vin Nigera and Luann, of course, who's an incredible podcaster in the industry. So one of their associates, who is now a partner, Kim Seraphim, and I decided that we were going to do this series called Window Treatment Friday Live. And so since then, almost every Friday, Kim and I go live on YouTube, as well as Facebook and Instagram at 9 a.m. Eastern for about half an hour or so. And we talk about a window treatment topic. So it could be what type of pleats are in, what are the trends in window treatments, what is a Roman shade, what type of linings to use, what's a drapery pin, banding, odd-shaped windows. So we are up to, I want to say, 130-ish episodes or so. And so that has been a lot of fun to do, a big commitment, of course. But it has also created some like really good presence. It has driven traffic to our websites. It has provided a good way of search engine optimization. And it has also given our marketing coordinators assets to then write articles off of those videos. And that is how those articles are created and then ultimately published in the newsletter that comes out twice a month.
Love that. I love that you're repurposing one thing for another.
Repurposing is, I told you I was big into efficiency. So anytime I can repurpose something with the minimal amount of input for maximum amount of output, I think that should be the name of the game.
Yeah. Yeah. And video is one of those because it can be turned into audio. It can be turned into text. It can be turned into a lot of things. So
exactly.
It's awesome. Switching gears a little bit, what is a marketing effort that you kind of stopped using over the last couple of years?
Oh my goodness, I want to say Yellow Pages. I'm pretty sure I did that at one point or another when 18 years ago. It's like, it's really weird, so I listen to Luann and to Vin, and they've been in business for 40 years. And I think to myself, wow, that is such a long time. And then I looked at my own journey, I'm like, 18 years, like you blink and where do 18 years go? And, and you look back, when I started, we had clamshell phones. Like, there was no Instagram. There was no, I don't think there was LinkedIn then. There was barely a Facebook. We didn't quite know what to put on Facebook. I think we're like, do we talk about the lunch that we just ate?
Right.
I might have had an ad in Yellow Pages. I probably blocked it out at this point.
Yeah.
A lot of things have really changed, and a lot of those changes are rooted in technologies, of course. So, just things like social media, things like optimized websites, things like paid ads, and things like lives and reels and all the video that you just mentioned. So all of that stuff has really taken front seat to a lot of the kind of much older traditional marketing, like print ads. That's right. I did run a couple of print ads. I no longer do that. I think I did a lot more direct mail than I would ever consider doing now. So there's just so much that is available to us from the technology standpoint.
Yeah.
And that's where the customer hangs out. So, that's what marketing is. You go and meet the customer where they hang out. And you find a way to pull them into your own domain figuratively and literally, right? You want them on your mailing list. You want them hanging out in your reading your newsletter and not, on any other platform.
Sure.
So
yeah,
just that sort of thing.
You mentioned social media. How are you guys using that?
Yeah, we primarily hang out on Instagram, and that is driven directly by our target customer. So most interior designers hang out on Instagram. It's a very visual platform. So we are very active there. And then we repurpose that content over to Facebook and then over to LinkedIn with some modifications, depending on what's appropriate for each of the platforms.
Okay, very good. Again, with the repurposing, I love it.
It's all about efficiency.
Yes. What would you say to a owner of a window treatment company that's just trying to kind of take their business to the next level?
So I think first and foremost, it's important to be very honest with yourself and understand what is that next level. So it has to do with your definition of scaling. And scaling can be doing more, making more money with the same amount of resources, or it is making the same amount of money and inputting less hours. So essentially you want to work the same amount of time and make more, or you want to make the same and work less time. So that is kind of the foundation. It's a simple question, but it's a very loaded question. And anybody who wants to take their business to that next level needs to decide what their next level is. If their next level is growing their top line, bottom line, which you can't do without people. And once you have people, then payroll becomes a really big and overwhelming deal. And once that is the case, then you really have to step up your marketing. And so, I mean, for me, the lover of marketing, that has always been kind of front and forward, but especially when I started scaling and made that conscious choice to scale. And so anyone who wants to take their business to the next level by scaling up needs to make sure that they have a very solid marketing plan that provides them with leads. And once the leads are there, do they have a solid plan then to fulfill those leads? Which again, everything leads back to systems and processes.
Yeah. Thank you for that answer. That, I mean, obviously that's what we do. So that was not planned, but thank you.
Of course.
So before we wrap up, tell me a little bit about your VIP experience that you have.
Yes. So it's interesting what happens. I didn't expect that really, didn't anticipate it, didn't know that that was a natural progression. But again, realizing that you're in business for close to 20 years, you start having like these random emails and random questions from random people that you never knew existed. And they write to you or call you and say, hey, I'm a new workroom, or hey, I am a new window treatment specialist, or I actually have been in business for 5 to 10 years, but I'm flying by the seat of my pants. Or my business is doing over $1 million, but it has 0 systems whatsoever. And it's like driving me crazy and I'm working 60 to 80 hours a week. So when I started hearing those types of questions, it became about kind of giving back to the people that are where I was 15, 18 years ago. And so everything that we do here in Vitalia Inc. is based on robust project management system, great quoting templates. We have a 100-page plus SOP binder that is an ever work in progress. Yeah. I am an incredibly strong believer in financials and understanding your past financials so that you can forecast your future. And so at this point, I know how many people it takes to get from, let's say, 300 to 500,000, from 500,000 to 1 million, from 1 million to 1.5 million. I know how many people it takes. I know what kind of positions it takes. I know how much it costs. I know the kind of mistakes that I have made along this very path. And so all of those tools, I literally hand off to the people, window treatment pros who decide to do the VIP experience. It is essentially a 2-day in-person intensive session right here in our beautifully renovated studio. And the window treatment pro is responsible for flying in, and then we take care of the rest. We put them up in the gorgeous hotel. We take care of their meals. We take care of all the necessities and luxuries. And of course, they walk away with all of my tools handed to them on the silver platter. We build out their P&L. We sit there with the Excel spreadsheets and actually build it out for the next year, 2 and 3 years.
Oh, wow.
And so they walk away knowing in no uncertain terms exactly what it takes to scale, what it takes to grow. It is not for the faint of heart. The investment for it is $10,000, and it is for people who are high achievers, who are type A's essentially, who don't want to waste time recreating the wheel, reinventing anything that has been already done for them before, who simply want to take the proven track record and follow it with making some minor adjustments to their own business, their own lifestyle. You know, I sometimes equate it to the, what's that game called? Chutes and Ladders. You know, there's that one piloted ladder that goes from the very bottom to the very top, right? And so it is that kind of ladder that I provide to them via the unfettered access to me, and with all the tools and systems and softwares that I have developed for my own business. And it is something that we use on a daily here at Vitalia Inc. So it's been really great. It's been very, very fulfilling to see my clients walk away with like their eyes wide open and be like, oh my gosh, I know exactly what I need to do. I have the clarity. I am no longer confused and wondering if I'm doing the right thing.
That's great. I love it. And I've mentioned before on a lot of my podcasts, the Pareto principle of getting, 80% of the way done in 20% of the time.
Yes,
I mean,
right.
Why not? That just totally makes sense. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, you know what? It's because all the years that I've been, moving in this direction. Nope, not quite right. Backtrack, then try this direction. Kind of, but not sort of. Backtrack a little bit. Let's try another way. And so you try different ways until eventually you find the way that works. And then you take it further. It takes time.
Yeah.
It takes effort. It takes money. It is exhausting. If I had a me 15 years ago for 2 days and a small investment, oh my gosh, I would have been there in a heartbeat, and I would have been here a lot faster than 18 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's great. I love that. So we will link to that in the show notes along with the other stuff you mentioned.
Thank you.
Wanted to ask you one last thing. You're going to be at IWCE.
Yes.
And you're speaking at are you doing a couple different sessions there?
I'm doing 4 different sessions. Yes.
Okay.
I am doing the best practices between an interior designer and a workroom. I'm doing a session on window treatments demystified, everything that an interior designer needs to know to spec a window treatment. I'm doing a session on window treatment trends. And the final one is problematic, those challenging windows, and how window treatments can save them.
Wow. Okay. Lots of choices. That's awesome. So,
lots of choices. I'll be one busy lady.
Yeah, that's great. Cool. Well, people, if you're going to IWCE, obviously you can look her up and take some of those classes as well. That'd be great. So, all right. If people want to learn more about you, where can they go?
The best place to go is to my website, which is vitaliainc.com. Everything is there. It is a very content-rich website. You will see some of the things that you can swipe and make your own. We have a wonderful free report that is called 37.5 Window Treatment Ideas, where you can have your own lookbook and use it for your window treatment appointments. We have a very rich FAQ section for interior designers that are looking to work with us. You're welcome to swipe any information from that section. We have all of my podcasts. And of course, this one will also, I would love a link from you, Will, and we can backlink to you and feature this podcast on our site, along with all the podcasting that I do with Luann all the window treatment Friday lives that we do on YouTube. So it's a very, along with our portfolio and articles and blogs and content and all the things. It's a very content-rich site. So
Cool.
I would love for people to meet me there.
Yeah. All right. I will make sure to link that in the show notes, obviously, as well. Vita, thank you so much for being on today. It's been a pleasure learning about your business and a little bit of a unique business compared to who I usually talk to. So.
Oh, great. I'm happy to have provided maybe a unique perspective. Thank you very much, Will, for having me. It's been a pleasure and an honor. Thank you for everything that you do for our industry as well.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you again for being on, and go check her out if you need to. The links will be in the show notes. And thank you for listening to this podcast. And don't forget to subscribe to this so that you can hear from other window treatment dealers, other service providers that are out there for our industry as well. All right, take care, everybody. Have a great week. Awesome. Thank you.